the President of State, presidential advisors, heads of state institutions, captains of industry. Welcome to this presidential dialogue with the private sector. My name is Bernard Avle. I will be your MC stroke moderator for this engagement. I'd like to begin by inviting the Minister for Government
between His Excellency and have been busy cobbling together various policies aimed at fostering a congenial business has been done. And some of the truism that the business environment today is much better than it was before His Excellency assumed office. But it is one thing to sit in the hallowed walls of government and make policy. It is quite another to have a more visceral and candid assessment of the impact of those policies, in order that those policies can be fine-tuned and that they are better created to meet the needs. And so this forum has been put together as part of a series of engagements with important segments of Ghanaian society. After this engagement, because His Excellency has a deliberative and consultative approach to governance, he would also engage members of organized labor who form a chunk of the workforce of Ghana. After that, he will also meet members of civil society in order that his policies come under scrutiny and come out in ways that are more beneficial. But many reasons exist why this sort of government is important. At the very least, it offers an opportunity for ideation and synthesis of various viewpoints, so that only the best policies can come out for the benefit of all. Again, it provides an important platform for feedback, so that His Excellency and his government are able to assess exactly what the impact of those policies have been, and what could be the impact of those policies have been, and what could be done better in order to foster an even better business environment. I must indicate that it is not only people within segments of Ghanaian society that His Excellency will be engaging. This is part of an overarching objective to take governance to the people. So in addition to these engagements, His Excellency will be stepping out to meet the people of Ghana as well. They are, after all, the reason why he is in office. You may have noticed that at the presidency, we hold regular briefings through which various ministers of state and other officials engage with the Ghanaian public to tell them exactly what government is doing. But His Excellency wants to take it a step further by having regional accountability fora and district accountability fora, where he will lead a delegation of ministers who will be joined by regional ministers, district chief executives, and one objective: to make his government better than he intends it to be. It is my belief that the objectives set for this evening will be achieved by the time we are done. And His Excellency would encourage you to be as candid as possible in your assessment and engagements with him, so that overall we all leave this place much better informed about what policies he has for us and how those policies have impacted. So with those brief comments, I would welcome you once again and wish you a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Felix Kwachio Fosu, Minister for Government Communications. We'd like to quickly acknowledge some of the key functionaries for tonight to support tonight's function. We have the Chief of Staff in the person of Honorable Julius Debra here with us. While we have all sector ministers here, we have two important ones for tonight's function. Minister for Finance, Kasiel Atufosin, MP. Thank you. Minister for Trade, Industry and Agribusiness, Honorable Elizabeth Ofusue-Jari, MP. And of course, Felix Kwachio Fosu, the Minister for Government Communications. We also want to acknowledge all other ministers here with us, if they can just give us a wave so we acknowledge all of them. Thank you. We also have the President's advisors on the key thematic areas, including 24 economy, good governance. If you can just give us a wave, all the President's advisors. We also have the Governor of the Bank of Ghana in the person of Johnson Pandit Esiama. We have heads of government agencies, including GIPC, GEPA, and all the state agencies. Please give us a wave where you are sitting. Thank you. We have chief executives of state enterprises and government corporations. If you can also give us a wave where you are sat, we'll be happy to acknowledge you. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. President, we have 150 companies grouped into 14 categories. And for the want of time, we'll just mention the 6 subcategories. And when I mention your industry, you can just give us a wave so we know you are here. So under the rubric of heavy industry and construction materials, we have the steel and ceramics products companies. If they can give us a wave, steel and ceramics product companies. Thank you. We have the cement manufacturing companies. There are 6 in number. Cement companies, give us a wave. And still under the heavy industry, we have automobile assembly components and bodyworks. There are 7. The steel and ceramics organizations, the president, are 21. There are 21 in all. Thank you. Under the light manufacturing and consumer goods, we have textile and garments. And under that rubric, we have about 12 companies. Textile and garments, give us a wave. Thank you. Paper and paper products, we also have them here. They are about 7 in number. Give us a wave. Cosmetics, toiletries, diapers, and sanitary parts, they are 10 in all. Please give us a wave. And then we have plastics and recycling, also under the light manufacturing and consumer goods. That group, they are 6 in all. Please give us a wave. The third category is food, beverages, and agro-based manufacturing. Under that, we have food and beverages. There are 19 companies. 19 companies. Agro-processing, 14 companies. Give us a wave. It's a roll call, please. Poultry, poultry feed, and fish products, there are 3 organizations. The fourth broad category is chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and health-related manufacturing. Under that, we have pharmaceutical companies, and they are 15 in all. And then under agrochemicals, we have 5 in all. Agrochemicals. Last but not least, we have the category we call electrical, energy-linked, and cross-cutting. Under that, we have electrical cables. There are 3 organizations. And then we have 9 organizations categorized under broad. So that's about 12 in that group for the final 5. We also have 14 industry associations. I won't go through the list. AGI, FAGE, and all of those. Please give us a wave. Thank you very much for being part of this program. So without further ado, we'd like to, with respect, receive the host of the program, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to bring to us his opening remarks. Please rise and let's receive him.
Thank you. Thank you. Kindly be seated. Thank you very much. Ministers of State, members of the Council of State, captains of industry, private sector leaders, business executives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to what I believe will be a defining conversation in Ghana's industrial and economic transformation. In the run-up to the 2024 election, I made a firm promise that if Ghanaians entrusted me with their mandates, I would hold an annual dialogue with captains of industry and business to address the challenges hindering the growth of the private sector in Ghana. Promise made, promise kept. I've convened this presidential dialogue with the private sector because I hold a simple but firm conviction that Ghana's economic transformation is a joint enterprise The government cannot achieve it alone, and equally the private sector cannot thrive without a government that listens, reforms, and creates an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Tonight is about resetting that partnership between government and the private sector. And we must do this candidly, substantively, and with mutual accountability. I also wish to acknowledge the extensive sector engagements undertaken by my Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry over the past year. Those consultations, from exporters, roundtables, to factory visits and market engagements, have grounded our policy direction in practical reality. Ghana's economy has emerged from a period of severe turbulence. We are beginning to see positive signals: relative stabilization of the currency, improved investor sentiment, strengthened business confidence, new private capital investments in manufacturing and processing. These outcomes reflect deliberate fiscal consolidation, value-added tax rationalization, removal of distortionary levies, and a determined effort to restore macroeconomic credibility. But let me be clear, stabilization is not equal to transformation. For over 5 decades, Ghana's manufacturing sector has contributed around 10% to GDP. Meanwhile, emerging Asian economies starting from a similar basis have achieved manufacturing share of 20% to 30% of GDP and thereby created mass employment and export competitiveness. And so we need to change our trajectory. I've therefore set a national target. Manufacturing must contribute at least 15% of GDP by the year 2030. Supported by 500,000 new quality industrial jobs. This will require structural reform and not incremental adjustments. I take note of the Ghana Chamber of Mines' recent report that says that Ghana is losing competitively in investments to Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. There are many areas we need to look at as outlined in the report. Areas like corporate taxation, electricity tariffs and stable power, duties on machinery and equipment, and several other factors. And so, across every subsector represented here tonight, one constraint dominates. That is the cost of energy and reliability of power. Industrial tariffs in Ghana remain uncompetitive relative to our regional peers. No industrial nation thrives under structurally high cost of power. This administration will accelerate energy sector debt restructuring, expand generation capacity, particularly in renewables, introduce differentiated off-peak industrial tariffs, improve transmission efficiency, and promote embedded generation in industrial enclaves. Energy reform is not optional. It is foundational to Ghana's industrial takeoff. The same applies to water supply for manufacturing. We must reform the water sector and include private sector participation in the supply of industrial water. While interest rates are falling sharply from the highs of about 38% a few years ago, industrialization cannot take off when interest rates remain around 18 to 20%, and lending tenors are quite short-term. We can resolve these challenges by establishing dedicated financing windows for manufacturing, partner with the Bank of Ghana and development finance institutions, develop special purpose vehicles for SME industrial expansion, expand credit guarantee schemes, and deepen long-term capital markets instruments. Access to affordable patient capital will be treated as a structural reform priority by this government. Smuggling under declaration, counterfeit goods, and rebagging of inferior products are not minor infractions. They constitute economic sabotage. To stem this tide and protect our fledgling manufacturing sector, we will intensify coordinated border enforcement, treat trade infractions as economic crimes, dismiss and prosecute public officers found culpable, deploy technology-driven customs surveillance solutions, and rigorously enforce product standards. This government is determined to protect Ghanaian enterprises so they can thrive and grow. Industrialization requires secure land tenure and protection of agricultural resources. In this regard, we will accelerate litigation-free industrial land banks, reform land tenure to support commercial contract farming, strengthen action against illegal mining and sand winning, expand irrigation systems, and invest in storage and cold chain infrastructure. Land reform is absolutely essential for our economic transformation. Sector-specific actions that we need to take. In textiles and garment industry, enforcement against counterfeit fabrics, tax exemptions on machinery and inputs, mandatory local procurement compliance, and with the agro-processing sector, commercial contract farming frameworks, expanded irrigation, post-harvest infrastructure for preservation and storage, fast-tracked agro-industrial land allocation. For pharmaceuticals, incentives for local API production, active ingredient production, stronger border enforcement against smuggled drugs, support for WHO GMP compliance. With the cement industry, enforcement of LI 2491, promotion of local clinker and other component production, resolution of port constraints in terms of discharge and logistical handling, and crackdown on rebagging of inferior cement. With iron and steel, border enforcement against smuggled steel, VAT compliance in scrap supply chains, tax exemption on plants and machinery, integrated value chain strategy, and ban on ferrous and non-ferrous scrap material. For food and beverages, stronger port enforcement, cold chain investments, and local raw material substitution. And for automotive industry, enforcement of age and quality standards, fiscal incentives for localization, affordable vehicle financing schemes, and regional market expansion under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The Cabinet will soon approve the National Agribusiness Policy to anchor our aim of value addition. Recently, wild fluctuations in the world cocoa market price have compelled us to take emergency steps to cushion our cocoa industry and protect our farmers. Measures have included a painful downward review of the domestic producer price. The current crisis in the cocoa sector compels us to urgently introduce reforms in the entire cocoa value chain. Reforms will include, amongst others, domestic funding for cocoa purchasing, expanded involvement of local licensed buying companies in cocoa purchasing, including the revamp of the produce buying company, expand value addition and processing of cocoa and other tree crops locally, automatic price mechanism that pays the farmer 70% of the international market price at prevailing exchange rates, drastic reduction of expenditure and elimination of waste in the cocoa board, and retooling of the cocoa processing company. We must move Ghana from a raw commodity exporter to a value-added producer. The same applies to the extractive industry. To achieve processing of all mineral ores locally within a 5-year time frame. At the center of our transformation agenda is a 24-hour economy policy. Factories operating one shift produce one shift's output. Factories operating 3 shifts maximize capital, infrastructure, and labor productivity. The 24-hour Economy Authority has now been established to coordinate nationwide implementation. I had the privilege of assenting to this bill, and it has been enacted into law. For manufacturers, this includes shift-based incentives, off-peak electricity tariffs, enhanced nighttime security, structured labor dialogue, tax exemptions on equipment for factory expansion, and other associated incentives. This is not mere reform, it is a productivity revolution. The African Continental Free Trade Area is the world's largest integrated market by the number of participating countries. But access alone does not guarantee competitiveness. Energy reform is an African Continental Free Trade Area strategy. Financing reform is an African Continental Free Trade Area strategy. Enforcement reform is an African Continental Free Trade Area strategy. We must work to make Ghana West Africa's production hub. Before I conclude, thank you. Thank you. Before I conclude, allow me to address a sector often seen as social, but fundamentally economic, and that's the area of sports and recreation. Sports today influences global markets, tourism, media rights, youth employment, creative industry, and investment flows. In 2026, Ghana stands at the center of several global platforms. Our national football team, Black Stars, is preparing for its 5th FIFA World Cup appearance. Our women's soccer team, Black Queens, heads into continental competition with renewed credibility. We also prepare for the 2026 Commonwealth Games and the 2026 Summer Youth Olympics. These moments position Ghana before global audiences and investors in ways that few sectors can do. We've therefore established the Ghana Sports Fund, a transparent financing framework for grassroots development, school sports, athlete welfare, infrastructure modernization, and long-term talent pathways. No country achieves sporting excellence without deliberate funding systems. I invite corporate Ghana to view this not as charity, but as a partnership in national development. Government has created a framework. Let us build the systems. So tonight, private sector, I have you here, and all senior government officials, ministers, Bank of Ghana, GIPC, 24-hour authority, all of us are here together. I propose a covenant between us. Government must commit to maintain stable macroeconomic policy. The turbulence in macroeconomic policy affects your businesses. We must maintain regulatory clarity. Regulations must be clear and simple and not intended to obstruct private business. We must look at the whole structure of industrial financing and apply industrial financing reform. We must enforce fair trade, so fair trade enforcement. Government also commits to improving infrastructure, including the roads, utilities, power, water, so that the private sector and industry can expand and thrive. And then also government commits to regular consultation with the private sector to resolve the challenges and obstacles that prevent your businesses from growing. In return, I ask the private sector to invest and scale up domestic production, create additional Ghanaian jobs, prioritize local content, invest in skills development, maintain international standards for our products, and engage transparently in policy dialogue with government. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana we all seek will not be built by speeches. It will be built by factories operating at scale. It will be built by farms that are linked to processing plants. It will be built by laboratories that are producing pharmaceuticals. It will be built by industrial parks that are producing for Ghana and exporting to Africa and beyond. And so, today is a presidential dialogue with the private sector, but let us move from dialogue to delivery as we leave this place. Together, we will build an industrial Ghana that is competitive, resilient, and prosperous. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong.
We thank His Excellency the President for his opening remarks. This is still the presidential dialogue with the private sector. Before we open the floor for the private sector, we would hear from two sector ministers. I'd like to first invite the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, who is also the MP for Techima North, the Honorable Elizabeth Ofusue-Jari, to bring to us her presentation ahead of the engagement. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Is Dove better than ordinary soap? We're going to prove it. Take a bar of your soap and Dove. Use yours on one side, Dove on the other. The soap part feels rough. The Dove side is softer, smoother, and more radiant. With 1/4 moisturizing cream, Dove deeply nourishes for radiant skin all over. Try Dove and feel the difference.
La Fonte Pepe Powder. This advert